What's up guys, the Lazy Goldmaker here with another gold making video, and in this video I will teach you what I consider the absolute best entry-level gold making market in Shadowlands right now for anyone looking to get started. This is something where you can make potentially hundreds of thousands, even millions in 9.2 of gold without having to cancel scan all day, without having to invest huge amounts of gold. And I'm of course talking about the normal rare armor crafted with the new crafter's marks, and of course the current crafter's marks right now. So yeah, let's take a look at this market, how it works, and how you can prepare yourself for 9.2 when we get new crafter's marks. So first of all, we're going to dive a little bit into the background. Some of you may already be familiar with this. If so, you can just skip ahead. Crafter's mark are an optional reagent. This is a new crafting mechanic in the Shadowlands, where you can add an optional reagent when you're crafting armor to increase the item level. So you have, these are the crafter's marks we have right now. This works for the rare base armor that you have from your professions, like the Shadow Steel set for blacksmithing. It also works for the green set, but you can only set it to the two lowest tiers of crafter's mark. And those aren't relevant. The relevant ones are these two, the Crafter's Mark 3 and Crafter's Mark of the Chain Dial right now, which are the new Crafter's Mark that were added in patch 9.1. So the Crafter's Mark 3 sets the item level to item level 200 and required level to level 60. And the Crafter's Mark of the Chain Dial sets the item level to 230, but it makes it unique equipped, so you can only have one item that's been upgraded to item level 230 with the Crafter's Mark. So this works on all of the rare armor crafted by all of the professions, and they're all very useful. Now, for a new level 60 character, the fastest way to gear up is to just buy a full set of Crafter's Mark 3 gear and one piece of Crafter's Mark of the Chain Dial gear. That's the fastest way. You'll get to 200 item level instantly on dinging, which is pretty much unbeatable. Of course, you can buy even more powerful gear. This is the main use, and this is something that has always been very useful. People always need to get their upgrades. Of course, the Crafter's Mark of the Chain Dial was also extremely useful at the beginning of 9.1, because back then the best geared characters were rocking item level 226 gear, so a item level 230 ring with a guaranteed socket, that's a pretty huge upgrade. Now, to get these two recipes that are relevant right now, the Crafter's Mark 3 is from Honored with the Death's Advance, and Crafter's Mark of the Chain Dial is from the Tier 4 of the Archivist Codex, which means that you'd have to do Korthia if you haven't done it already. With the catch-up, it doesn't take that long, and you can still make profit with these items, depending on your realm. There are some caveats. You can still make some gold with them, but of course, the more exciting part is going to be the new Crafter's Marks coming in 9.2. But before that, I'm going to talk about how you can take advantage of this market right now. So the main thing is that these Crafter's Marks, they require different materials based on which professions you craft them with. As we can see here, we have all of the recipes, and the Crafter's Marks are bind and pickup, which means you can't trade them. You can't craft them with the cheapest one and then move them to whichever character you want to use them on. And this has some ramifications for the optimal setup. Now, the main thing is that currently on most realms, the Alchemy Crafter's Mark will be by a fairly significant margin the cheapest one. On my realm, Draenor, it is in fact so cheap that if you don't have Alchemy, you can't compete, because people with Alchemy are driving the price down. At least that's how it used to be. Driving the price down so that all of the other Crafter's Marks are not competitive. So that is the case right now. On many realms, you might have to have Alchemy, which means that it's kind of hard to break into the full market, because you need potentially 4 alts, each combining Alchemy and one of the other professions that can craft armor to cover everything. But even with just one alt with Alchemy jewel crafting or Alchemy blacksmithing or Alchemy leatherworking, you can make these items and you can sell them, and they do still sell. Because people are still leveling alts. People are still playing their characters. There's always people leveling alts and buying catch-up gear. It's one of the most constant things in the game, so you can definitely take advantage of them. If you do a lot of volume, I don't think I'd suggest this right now, but it is a possibility to keep Alchemy, and then you keep cycling through the other professions. So you learn leatherworking, level it up, craft a bunch of leatherworking item level 230 pieces, and then you drop leatherworking and go to the next profession. You'd need to do some pretty large scale crafting sessions for that to make sense. I don't think it makes too much sense in 9.1. It might make sense in 9.2, depending on how large the difference is between the different professions in 9.2, which we also don't know yet. That's a possibility at least. So how do I do this when I'm doing the market right now? Well, I'm not doing this super actively right now because I don't have alchemy. My crafters are set up to be, blacksmithing, jewel crafting for legendaries as well. And I couldn't be bothered doing the rep grind again, but I'm going to show you my approach to keeping these items in stock. What I typically done is I've crafted up to about 5 or 10 of each. I've not used the crafting operation and just done it manually. I think it's a little bit time inefficient, but I haven't figured out the best way. So just by using Trade Skill Master, you add the optional reagent here, say the Crafter's Mark of the Chain Dial. Then I can hover over here and I can see that on my banker I have 1 of these on item level 230. So if I wanted to go up to 5, then I just queue 4. And then you go through the rest, do the same thing for the Shadow Steel Greaves. We can see that we have 14 of these, so I don't need to craft any of these. Then it's the Shadow Steel Pauldrons. Well, that's the wrong Crafter's Mark. And we can see that we have 2 Shadow Steel Pauldrons, so we'd queue up 3. And then essentially you just craft through the crafting queue once you're done. Make sure you craft enough Crafter's Marks, buy all the necessary materials, and then you have the items. Now, the next step is to make sure that you have all the items in the correct group. The way I do this is I add all of the specific items, all of the variants. Like I have a huge inventory full of items here. So item level 230 quick oxide ring with haste and mastery. I want to add this specific item to the jewel crafting group. And I want to do the same for everything. And if we go to my groups here, we'll see that they are filled with different variants, because I want TSM to price these differently. I want to, when posting the crit haste neck, it should only consider other crit haste necks when pricing them. So that's pretty much what I do, just add all of them. Of course, I've already added all of mine to the group. Otherwise, they would show up here as ungrouped items, and you just add them to the group. And you can just use a normal crafting operation, crafting 120%. TSM will know the crafting cost of your items, including the cost of the Crafter's Mark. The only the only reason that cannot work is if, like me, you have characters on multiple accounts. So since my jewel crafter is on another account, it's just assuming that this costs the crafting cost of the base item, which is just 47 gold. My actual crafting cost is about 3,000 something, because you can see my minimum price is 3,800 for this specific market. So yeah, just make sure you add every stat variant to the group, and then you can go about and start posting essentially. This is the character that I posted all of my stuff at. We can take a look here at the TSM graph. This is when this is the first period of 9.1. We can see here that I made about 5.7 million in sales over the first 2 months of posting this stuff in 9.1. It was incredibly profitable, and then eventually someone started using alchemy, and I couldn't compete with that, which killed the market. And this was also a period of time where I was on vacation. In this period, the absolute beginning of the patch, which meant that I lost out quite a bit of potential gold. I could have made even more, but this was incredibly profitable, absolutely incredibly profitable in 9.1, and I'm expecting the same thing in 9.2, because it's structured, the item levels are structured exactly the same. So let's turn our attention to why this is going to be so good in 9.2. So this one here, the Crafter's Mark of the first ones, this is the new Crafter's Mark coming, that's replacing or analogous to the Crafter's Mark of the Chain Dial. And as you can see, the item level is item level 262 and unique equipped, which means that this is an upgrade for every character in the game, assuming you can get these relatively early on in 9.2. This is going to be an upgrade for everyone, particularly rings. This is going to be great, getting perfectly statted rings with a socket that's 10 item levels higher than Mythic Raid gear, or max level Mythic Plus gear in the current patch. So early on in 9.1, the item level 230 pieces were selling for 35,000. A pop, something like 20,000-30,000 profit. It was absolutely incredible. I'm expecting the same thing from the Crafter's Mark of the first ones, and you definitely want to unlock this recipe early on. It's currently, you need to get to Revered, I believe, with the Enlightened to get it. So you do have to do the rep grind. Definitely get on that. Focus on doing your dailies and world quests. It is going to pay out. Now, as for preparations material-wise, the main thing to note is that primarily these use the new materials. The leatherworking one uses 20 protogenic pelts, progenitor essentia, and 30 heavy desolate hides and leathers, and then some vendor materials. This means it's almost impossible to know ahead of time what's going to be the cheapest ones, since we don't know how the prices on the new materials are going to shake out. What I do expect is that the new materials, like the progenitor essentia and the other new materials, are going to be the majority of the cost for these. So I don't think the difference is going to be that large, particularly the progenitor essentia, which is also needed for the new rank 7 legendaries. You will need you need 2 of these for a rank 7 legendary, and you need 1 of these for a Crafter's Mark. So depending on how quickly you can get these might make the Crafter's Marks of the first ones incredibly expensive. We'll have to see, but we don't know what the correct approach for preparations is going to be, outside of making sure you have some crafting alts ready to go, and that you're ready to farm the reputation. And the more alts you can be bothered farming the reputation, the better off you will be, because then you are more flexible in terms of setting up your professions perfectly. Right now, I don't think there's any reason to believe that one or other is going to be more or less expensive, since we don't know the drop rates, we don't know the exact drop rates, we don't know the exact usage rates in other recipes, we don't know the distribution of players across classes. There's just a few too many variables to be certain about which recipe is going to be more or less expensive. Either way, I think that these are going to be incredibly profitable in 9.2. So I'd prepare for that. This market was fantastic in 9.1. Even though I was mostly away, I made so much money, literally millions, and I expect you'll be able to do the same if you are among the first to get the recipe in 9.2. So yeah. Now, if you want my TSM setup for the current Crafter's Marks, which will also work for the next set, then you'll find a link to that in the description. Hopefully you learned something. I'll be making some more videos about both current markets and stuff that's coming in 9.2, so make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'll tell YouTube that you want to get the next gold making tips I publish as well, so don't miss out on that. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a very profitable week, month, patch. We'll see you on the next video. Goodbye, guys.